Morning everyone. Today I want to show you how to create digital practice tests on YYeni so that learners can take them on their side instead of printing the paper out and then letting them write on a paper. And so you still create the assessments in the same way. You go through this workflow where you give the assessment a title. Let's say in this case we want to create a stoichiometry test 1. You still go through the same workflow. You pick the topics, you match, then you review, refine, you order, you save. Okay, so just the same process still, but once you have done that and you've saved the assessment, it will appear in here. And so what you do then to make it a digital practice test is you click these three dots, you click view, and then you come on the last option here where it says digital practice test. So you'll see that you can still see the question paper that you created. You can see the marking scheme you created. Still loading up. Okay, so you can see the marking scheme you created, and then you can still proceed to copy in the old way, copy the question paper and then paste it in a Google Docs, so you can actually format it properly and then give the learners to write. But alternatively, the best actually what you want to do is create a digital test so that learners can just take this test on YYeni. And so you want to select that it's a timed test. Then you want to look at the amount of marks allocated, in this case 23 marks. So then maybe you want to give double minutes for that, because then the learners are typing, so they might be slow with typing. So in this case, because it's 23 marks, you could say, okay, let's make the minutes 46. But I would rather make the minutes something like 60, so we give them enough time for typing. Okay, and then you want to allow retakes, and you can want to allow at least up to 3 retakes. In this case, you want the learner to study and then take the test, and then that will be attempt number 1, and then they will get their feedback. And then down the line in a different week, once they've done their catch-up lesson and their revision, you can ask them again to retake the same test unassisted, so you can see how they do there. And I think it's useful to allow the retake so that the learner at the later date can actually attempt the test again after they've reviewed and they've gotten correction, but not on the same day exactly at the same time, because remember, the aim for this digital practice test is to have the learner practice active recall of the material. And so once you allow three retakes, you click create digital test, and the test is created essentially. But now in order for the learner to see it on their side, on this side, in case let's say this is Barak, so if he clicks assessment on his side, he is in the chemistry classroom, he still won't see any practice tests here. And the only way to help him see the practice test is to actually publish the test. So when you click publish, the assessment will now be created, and then when the learner refreshes on their side, they'll be able to see the practice test. But as you can see, the practice test is locked right now, so it's waiting for teacher to unlock this test. So you want to unlock the practice test for each learner as they finish the session, so not just unlock the test for everyone. So in this case, once it's done, don't click authorize all learners, because this will allow any learner to take the test. You want to wait until they are done, and then they should ask you for permission to start the test, so you can actually supervise them. And then in order to authorize the learner to take a test, to unlock the test, because right now it's locked, you want to click review attempts, and then it is on the review attempts where you are going to pick which learner to authorize. So in this case, we want to authorize this learner, so by clicking that, by just toggling that button, you will have unlocked the test for him. So in this case, then the learner can then refresh their page again, and when they refresh, they'll be able to take the test. So that way, they'll be able to take the same digital test, or the same test they used to write on paper, but digitally, the same exam questions. They'll have a place for answering. And in this case, you can even start it so you have a look. So then the questions will appear on this side, the learner's answer will be on this side. And you want to encourage learners to label their answers. Okay, so this is question 1. There are 2 parts here, part A and B. So you want them to label open brackets, close brackets, A, the answer for A, and then the answer for B. Okay, it is super important that the learners do that, because then I could see, okay, which answer is this for? Okay, so the learner answers this question here, and then answers this question here. And as you can see, as the learner is typing, it will be saved automatically, so that even if the learner refreshes their page or goes off by mistake on a different website or closes it off by mistake, they can still come back, and they should still be able to continue, because that session is still open for them to actually be able to finish the test. So they can resume, and then you'll find that their answer is there. So this in case the internet goes off or just something happens, but there is a timer that we created for 60 minutes, so then they have to finish within the time frame. They can then move on to the next question, move on to the next question. And then once they are done, they submit. If the timer is finished, then they will be requested to submit. It will submit automatically. Okay, I trust this will be helpful. The idea is to get learners to write as many practice tests as possible. And so you create 1 or 3 practice tests around the same section. So state of meta will maybe have 3 practice tests. Practice test 1, practice test 2, test 3. Atoms, elements, stoichiometry, practice test 1, practice test 2. And you wanna enable these tests for each learner as they finish, right? So they don't have to wait for the next person. So if Janet is done and she's done with that section, she can then you can just enable it for her so she can take the practice test. Okay, thank you very much.